What's going on, guys? We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Thursday night football, a little bit more than 1 hour away. See a couple people in the chat already. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Thursday night live stream, our 8th Thursday night live stream of the season. It's week 8, guys. It is week 8. We have a fantastic matchup tonight against the Arizona Cardinals versus the Green Bay Packers. Kyla Murray versus Aaron Rodgers, the only undefeated team remaining in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals, 6.5-point favorites against the Green Bay Packers without Davante Adams, without Allen Lazard, without Marquez Valdez-Scantling, without their top 3 receivers. We have Aaron Rodgers in prime time against Kyla Murray. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good game. And I have to take the Arizona Cardinals in this matchup. I'm seeing a question in the TikTok chat already. Who you got? I got Jacob Little in the chat. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals tonight. But if I'm going against the spread, plus 6.5, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. I think that the Green Bay Packers are going to make this a game. And I posted a TikTok about this, I think yesterday. Aaron Rodgers' numbers without Davante Adams are actually better. He's actually 7-0 without Davante Adams. He's 7-0 without Davante Adams over the last, I think it's 3 years. Since 2019, Aaron Rodgers averaging more passing yards per game, more passing touchdowns per game without Davante Adams. And I honestly do not understand this. I do not understand why these numbers are the way that they are. It's not because they're losing more in those games, because they are actually 7-0 without Davante Adams. It's simply, I think, Aaron Rodgers is forced to spread the ball around more, and maybe the offense is just slightly hard to predict. I'm not sure. I wouldn't argue that the Packers are better without Davante Adams, but on average, Rodgers and the Packers have been better without Davante Adams since 2019. All that being said, I still think the Cardinals win this game. They're 7-0. The Cardinals offense, I expect to have a field day against the Packers defense. The Packers defense without still their top 2 corners heading into this game. Kyla Murray has been on absolute fire this entire season, and I don't think he's going to get slowed down in this game. I've said this for almost every single Arizona Cardinals game so far this season. The Cardinals are going to score more than 30 points in this game. So if the Packers want any chance, they're going to have to put up more than 30 points. And that's not as easy of a thing to do against the Cardinals defense, though the Cardinals defense also will be without J.J. Watt tonight, which I do think will have an impact on the game. Kyla Murray, though, he really has been very dominant this season. He has the 5th most passing yards in the NFL so far this year. That's on a per-game basis. But he's also top 10 in rushing yards. He actually is rushing less this season, though, than he was last season. He's been incredibly efficient, though. He's top 5 in fantasy points per game so far this season. I think you got to start Kyla Murray, as always, every single week. We're going to talk through some of the must-start players. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. On the YouTube Live, you can see my top 10 rankings for quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends heading into Week 8 for fantasy football. So come to the YouTube Live to get that info. Should I start Rodgers over Prescott? Yarjma, you absolutely should not do that. You cannot do that this week. Aaron Rodgers, I think, will have a good week. Again, he somehow has done better without Davante Adams. And I think that the Cardinals are going to score more than 30 points, and the Packers are going to have to try to keep up. That's probably good news for Aaron Rodgers. But Dak Prescott he's setting up so well for the rest of the season, including this week. You have to go with Dak Prescott in that situation. The matchup, I think, is better for Dak Prescott. The Cowboys up against the Patriots last week. A few weeks ago. I'm way back here. In Week 8, Cowboys are getting the Vikings. That could be a massive shootout. You're not allowed to bench Dak Prescott this week, man. Don't bench Dak. It might be tough watching Aaron Rodgers ball out tonight, but Aaron Rodgers' floor is just way lower. Way lower than Dak Prescott's. So you got to start Dak Prescott. All right, let me pull up my top 10 running backs for this week. The one running back you absolutely have to start this week, as you have to start him every week, Aaron Jones. And without Davante Adams and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Allen Lazard playing in the game, you got to feel even better about Aaron Jones today. Aaron Jones is getting a minimum of 20 touches tonight. I would be really surprised if we don't see 20 touches from Aaron Jones. Hopefully we see Quadzilla A.J. Dillon, my favorite player in the NFL. Hopefully we see him get some extra touches tonight as well. That should be expected. A.J. Dillon definitely is not in must-start territory, though. Thoughts on D-Hop and his injury? Yeah, so Deandre Hopkins he's been dealing with an injury, I think, for the last few weeks now. And, it seemed like he was a lock to play this week. And then there was, a very quick concerning report about his hamstring injury that he was very questionable for the game. And now he's officially active for this game tonight against the Packers. He did not practice at all. I don't think that's a huge problem for Hopkins, though I will say DeAndre Hopkins is, regardless of the injury, and maybe the injury does have something to do with this. It would make sense because DeAndre Hopkins has really been one of the most consistent receivers in NFL history on a year-over-year basis. I mean, Hopkins he's had back-to-back seasons with over 140 targets. But this season, it's just not the case. We talked about this on our trade live stream last night. I'll be going live every single Wednesday night, by the way, talking about trades and making sure we dominate our trades in our fantasy football leagues. But DeAndre Hopkins, he's not the same player this year in terms of volume. He's seeing under 7 targets a game. He's seen around 10 targets a game or more in each of the last 5 seasons. So he's seeing 3 targets less per game this season. And that is a big deal. The red zone volume has not really dropped off. So maybe Hopkins is just not quite as used in the beginning part of the field, and then once the red zone work comes in, that's when they're using Hopkins the most. That could signal something to do with the injury. He scored a lot of touchdowns. I think he's top in the league or second in the league. Yes, second in the league with 7 touchdowns. 7 receiving touchdowns for DeAndre Hopkins. But you don't want to bank on touchdowns in fantasy football. They're very hard to predict. They're the most variant thing in fantasy. Extremely high variance. So, yeah, I feel good about starting Hopkins tonight. He still is on my must-start list. Let me pull up that on the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube, guys. Link is in the TikTok bio for the YouTube stream. You get a little bit more info on the YouTube live. I can show you my top 10 rankings for every single position just at the bottom of the screen. And also on the screen right now is my must-start players for Thursday night. I think these are all pretty obvious, except for maybe the last one. But, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, he's still a must-start every week. I still think he's a little overvalued traditionally in fantasy football leagues right now, and he does have some risk, but it's still DeAndre Hopkins against a Packers defense without their top 2 corners on a team that's going to put up 30-plus points. So you got to start DeAndre Hopkins still. D-Hop or CD, got to choose one. Yeah, in that situation, you got to go CD Lamb. You have to go CD Lamb. Again, that Cowboys-Vikings game, guys, has massive shootout potential. Massive shootout potential. You're going to want almost every single possible piece in that game. You have to start CD Lamb. I think Amari Cooper is going to be a must-start this week. I think Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, all these guys, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, they're all must-starts this week. That game could easily go over 60 total points. If Eckler is out, start Keenan Allen or Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, I like how you phrase that question because I do think Keenan Allen gets a boost without Austin Eckler. I would play Keenan Allen in a PPR league over Chuba Hubbard, especially if Austin Eckler's out. Even if Austin Eckler's in, I think you can consider doing that. Should I trade Allen Robinson for Cole Beasley? No. Some props for today. Yeah, David, we got props today. We do have a prop for tonight. And I'll answer this one next. There is props I like tonight. One prop that is not in the WalterPicks app that I like tonight. And there's one prop already in the WalterPicks app. We're posting props every single week in the WalterPicks app. Check it out on the iOS App Store. Completely free 7-day trial. You get completely free access to everything. So check it out. It uses artificial intelligence to dominate prop picks, to help you dominate start-sit decisions and trade decisions in your fantasy football league. Link is in the bio for that app that I've helped build over the last 2.5 years. Also, link is in the YouTube description. But one prop that's not in the app that I do like tonight is Rondale Moore. His receiving prop is 30.5. 30.5. The thing with this, obviously this is not a lock. Rondale Moore over 30.5. He's got under 30 yards, I think, in 3 or 4 out of his 7 games so far this season. He actually barely eclipsed 30 yards in each of his last 2 games combined. Yeah, he's gone under 30 yards 4 out of the 7 games, so over 50% of the time. But Rondale Moore can get 30 yards so easily. He really just needs 4 catches, and he's over 30 yards. In the 3 games where he has at least 4 catches, he's cleared 30 yards with ease. He's averaging actually close to 75 yards a game in those games. So, yeah, I like Rondale Moore. I think his over-under that I saw was 30.5 receiving yards. Plus DeAndre Hopkins dealing with an injury. That could easily be a bigger deal than we realize. So I like the Rondale Moore. I feel like there's a lot of outs with that Rondale Moore prop. He really only needs 4 catches. In Sam we trust, pick 3, Kupp, Godwin, Chase, Hopkins, Ridley. Those are a lot to choose from. But since DeAndre, I'm going to try to prioritize the start-sit questions with the Thursday night guys in them. You're not allowed to sit Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp's the top 3 receiver every week. You really can't sit Jamar Chase either. So let's knock those two out. You got to choose between Godwin, Hopkins, and Ridley. Godwin and Mike Evans getting a huge bump with no Antonio Brown, though Rob Gronkowski looks like he's returning. So that will have an impact on that passing offense. Honestly, I think I would probably go. I think Ridley's got a tough matchup against the Panthers this week too. I would probably go with Hopkins. I think I'd go Hopkins over Godwin. It's close though. Godwin's probably safe. I think Hopkins has a really high ceiling tonight though. Play Randall Cobb. Yeah, there's 2 sides to every start-sit decision. And the WalterPicks app, by the way, you can just tap on any 2 players, get their projected points based on machine learning and boom and bust probabilities for every single player. But Randall Cobb, I think he's projected over 10 points if you check in the WalterPicks app. And so depending on who you're starting him over, yeah, I think you can consider him. He could easily lead the Packers in receiving tonight. Probably going to be Aaron Jones, but Randall Cobb definitely could do it. He definitely could do it. Hey, Sam, Thursday night, Zach Ertz or Gronk? This is a tough one. I don't think Gronk's in my top 10 tight ends. Let me pull up my top 10 tight ends in the YouTube live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. You get a little bit more info on the YouTube live with my top 10 rankings at every single position for week 8. And you look at my top 10 for week 8 at the tight end position. And I don't think Gronk's on here because honestly, when I ran these rankings, I didn't have Gronk playing. So this is actually a tough question. I have Zach Ertz ranked as my number 10 tight end. I don't think Ertz is by any means a lock, but he did see pretty good usage in his first game. And that's encouraging because when you first join a team, in that first game, you really see a player's floor because they are just joining the team, just learning the playbook. And you look at Zach Ertz, he played half the snaps. He saw 5 targets. He scored a touchdown, 60 yards. I mean, I think his floor is around 5 catches for 50 yards. So that's around 10 fantasy points, which is not bad at the tight end position. Gronk has a much higher ceiling if he plays, but coming off an injury for Gronk, honestly, I think Zach Ertz is much safer. Like, there's no reason for the Buccaneers to force Gronk back quickly. Like, he could come back this week but still play less than half the snaps. If I was the Buccaneers, that's exactly what I would do. They have O.J. Howard, who's been playing pretty well. Cameron Brate is good enough. The Buccaneers are just walking past teams every single week. Like, there's no reason for them to rush Gronk back. So from that perspective, I think you almost have to go Zach Ertz. Gronk or Robert Tonyan? Yeah, again, like, and I know I've been wrong about Gronk all season. So you got to take my Gronk advice with a huge grain of salt. I have been off on Gronk all season. If you've been following me long enough, guys, you know I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. I'm wrong all the time. But Gronk is honestly, I think, was one of my biggest misses heading into the season. He had an injury that's kept him out for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks now. He started the season super hot. But again, like, can you really feel good about Gronk's playing time this week? He's coming back from a punctured lung and broken ribs. Like, there's no reason for them to rush him back with how good the Buccaneers have been playing. And they have depth at tight end, too. So that's why I'm a little nervous about Gronk coming off of the injury. I would rather go with Tonyan and Zach Ertz tonight. So if you're going to ask me Tonyan versus Gronk, Ertz versus Gronk, I'm going with Tonyan. I'm going with Ertz. And I actually think I have, if you see my top 10 rankings, if you're on the YouTube live, you won't see Tonyan in the top 10 rankings. So I have Ertz ahead of Tonyan as well. Cobb or Gainwell? Yeah, I'd go Gainwell. I actually really like Gainwell this week. It seems like Miles Sanders is a lock not to play. Gainwell's good. He's good at receiving too, so there's going to be some receiving work. It looks like Boston Scott's going to get a lot of those carries. So Gainwell absolutely has. He absolutely has some serious bust potential. Like there's definitely some trap. There's definitely a chance that Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell are traps this week. Like Kenny Gainwell has trap written all over him, but he does have a good receiving profile, and Cobb is definitely not a lock. Thursday night, sit 1, half PPR, Zach Moss, Chase Edmonds, Damien Harris, Austin Eckler. Yeah, so Eckler's dealing with an injury. I do think he's going to play. So, I mean, you definitely can't sit Eckler. I would probably sit Damien Harris here. Gronk or Ertz. Yeah, Gronk, Gesicki, or Schultz. A lot of Gronk questions. Gronk is back, man, and Gronk was doing really well before he was out. I wouldn't be trusting Gronk this week. Let's just wait 1 week for Gronk. Let's just have a little bit of patience because we don't know what the workload is going to be. Gronk has a huge injury history in the past, so you can't feel good about them playing Gronk at full steam coming off a 2 or 3 week absence. Tonyan or Schultz. Yeah, you got it. You have to go Schultz. You have to go Schultz. And I think Gallup might be back this week, maybe next week. But Schultz is my number 4 tight end this week. My number 4 tight end. Schultz is, I think, the second or third best tight end on the season. So, yeah, you can't be benching Schultz right now. All right, I'm going to get to some of the comments in the YouTube and TikTok lives. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, they added a like button to TikTok. Smash that like button if you're watching live on TikTok. I do appreciate that. And if you're not following us on TikTok yet, guys, you got to make sure you're hitting that follow button on the TikTok live as well. We are live every Wednesday night, every Thursday night, every Sunday night. And we're actually going to be having a Monday night live coming very soon as well. All right, let's get to best running back trade targets. Yeah, you missed the trade. You must have missed the trade live last night. Every Wednesday night, we could do a live stream just talking about trades. And on that live stream, I think I still have it here, I had some of my favorite running backs to target with league-winning upside. Here they are. If you're watching live on YouTube, there they are right on the screen. They're not in a very particular order. Don't put too much weight in the order. But I think all of these guys on the screen right here have a league-winning upside. All right, almost 4-month subscriber, Bandit 2K. Thank you so much, man, for subscribing. Whether that be to the YouTube or to the WalterPicks app. I mean, thank you so much for either of those. The number one way you could possibly support me is by subscribing in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store, which uses machine learning to help you with all things fantasy and DFS and player props. But I also appreciate the YouTube subscribers as well. Seriously, thank you so much for doing that. Amari Cooper or Randall Cobb. Yeah, come on. I know Amari Cooper has not been great. And I know a lot of things are falling in line for Randall Cobb all at the same time. But you have to be playing Amari Cooper over Randall Cobb. Honestly, I won't feel bad about this one, even if I end up being wrong, because it's really not that close. Amari Cooper is actually, he's been disappointing this season. Like he's only gone over 16 fantasy points once, which if you were to know that going into the season, you probably wouldn't have drafted Amari Cooper. But he has gone over 10 fantasy points 3 straight weeks. And again, this Vikings-Cowboys game has massive shootout potential. You just should not be benching Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb this week. All right, let's get to some more of the questions. Sup, Sam? How come there isn't a free prop pick each week anymore? Carter, are you talking about on the live streams? Because we are doing a free prop pick every week on these live streams. There's also some free prop picks every week in the WalterPicks app. So I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. But we haven't had a free prop pick on a Thursday night in a while. You're right. We haven't had a free prop pick on Thursday night in a while. And I did give away a prop though already in this stream, which is Rondale Moore over 30.5 receiving yards. That's different than what the one is in the WalterPicks app. There is one in the WalterPicks app tonight that I do like a lot that I am on tonight. But I like Rondale Moore over 30.5 yards tonight as well. Walter has Rondale Moore projected for like exactly 31 yards. So Walter did not like Rondale Moore over 30.5. But Walter, again, is the artificially intelligent algorithm that powers the WalterPicks app. But I do like Rondale Moore over 30.5. There's so many outs for Rondale Moore. I like the low props. You can get one catch and easily get 30 yards. But really, every single game that Rondale Moore has at least 4 catches, he's gone over 30 yards with ease. He's actually averaging like 70 yards per game in those games. TJ Hawkinson has been underperforming. Should I start Tonyan instead? No. I mean, it makes a little bit more sense. That Robert Tonyan, you got to understand this when you're thinking about Robert Tonyan. This is not a good matchup for Robert Tonyan. The Cardinals defense has been good against tight ends. They are the number 1 defense this season against tight ends. Not a single defense has been better against tight ends. No tight end has even gone over 50 yards against this defense. Like Tonyan's floor this game tonight is literally like 10 yards and 0 touchdowns. He could end this game with 2 catches, 10 yards, 0 touchdowns. That would not shock me at all. So does he have an increased ceiling because of all the guys that are out? Yeah, absolutely. Like his touchdown probability is definitely much higher now. But the matchup is not good for Robert Tonyan. I mean, the Cardinals defense has been so good against tight ends. They haven't played the best tight ends, but they've been really good against tight ends. So I would be cautious with Robert Tonyan tonight. Randall Cobb or Jerry Jeudy? I'm so excited. Thank you for asking this question. I'm so excited for Jerry Jeudy to come back. I could not be more ecstatic to be able to watch Jerry Jeudy on my TV screen once again. But, I mean, I think you almost have to go Randall Cobb. It's similar to the Rob Gronkowski thing. Like, do you really want to be starting Jerry Jeudy in his first game back? Sutton or Jeudy? Yeah, I would probably go Sutton over Jeudy for that same reason. Give away Najee. for Debo and Andrews. Only really Najee Harris is so valuable in fantasy. I mean, he's seeing the best workload among all running backs. Chase Edmonds or Elijah Mitchell. That one is very close. Elijah Mitchell, I think back-to-back 100-yard games for Elijah Mitchell. I still think I would probably go Chase Edmonds. I like Chase Edmonds tonight. Chase Edmonds or Patterson. That one, I mean, I don't know how you don't go with Cordell Patterson. The usage for Cordell Patterson has just been so amazing. 14 carries, 5 targets last week. He played the highest snap rate he played in this entire season coming off the bye. Jalen Waddle or Christian Kirk. That one's got to be Waddle. Waddle's seeing way more targets. I want to start Rondale Moore, by the way, in one of my high-stakes leagues, and I just can't do it. I can't start him over Khalil Herbert. I can't start Rondale Moore over Kenny Gainwell. I feel like I can't start Rondale Moore over any of my receivers. I'm not going to start him over Terry McLaurin. I want to start him because I believe in the talent of Rondale Moore, but the volume has been a bit of an issue for him. Aaron Jones or Patterson? Yeah, you definitely cannot bench Aaron Jones. This game going to be called the Aaron Jones game. I love that, man. I love that. I do think it's definitely possible. I mean, if there's any game where Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, Quadzilla himself, should be involved, I mean, this is the game, right? This has to be the game. Thoughts on Edmonds and Aaron Jones tonight? Yeah, I think both guys are shaping up really well. I mean, Aaron Jones is locked in as a top 10 running back every week, but especially this week with no Devontae Adams, no Marquez Valdes-Scantling, no Allen Lazard. So I think Aaron Jones is locked in as a top 10 option this week. I'd be pretty surprised if Aaron Jones doesn't go over 100 total yards today. I think his over-under rushing is around 60, and his over-under receiving is around 40. So, like, his over-under is right around 100 in total yards. I think he clears that, honestly, with ease. I won't be surprised if he clears both receiving and rushing. Sam, I've been subscribed for over a year. Spencer, thanks so much, man. I have Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, and Keenan Allen. I need a running back. Who are some good targets? Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase. Absolutely baller trio of receivers you got here, Spencer. Honestly, Keenan Allen seems like the one to move. Even though Keenan Allen has the lowest value of them, I don't think it's a terrible idea to shop around Jamar Chase with the receivers you have to, because Jamar Chase will probably bring in more for you. But I talked about it on the Wednesday Night Live, which I'm going to be doing every single week now, talking about trades specifically. And these are some running backs to target that have league-winning upside. Joe Mixon, Zeke Elliott, Aaron Jones, James Robinson, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor. Miles Sanders is going to be the cheapest one of them all, and he probably won't be back till the fantasy football playoffs. So, like, be careful with the Miles Sanders one, and DeAndre Swift. But all these guys to me have league-winning upside that you could go trade for, like, realistically. I tried to make this a list of guys that I thought you could actually go trade for. Like, Derrick Henry's not on the list, not because I don't like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's the number 1 overall running back so far this fantasy season, and you just probably can't trade for him. So that's why he's not on the list. And the order here also isn't super important. I put Joe Mixon first just because I think he might be the easiest to get. I like Zeke second here because I think he's also tradable for right now in fantasy. And I think the Cowboys, like, if there's one dark horse team to lead the NFL in points scored for the remainder of the season, it's the Dallas Cowboys. They easily could do it. It would not be surprising at all. Michael Gallup's coming back. They have 6 healthy starting offensive linemen. Thursday night question, Edmonds or Herbert to start? Khalil Herbert's been so good. I mean, I feel like Herbert's just so safe. I would go with Khalil Herbert, honestly. Khalil Herbert the fact that he went over 100 yards against the Buccaneers just makes me feel so, like, safe starting him. If he can do that against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the only player this season I think that's gone over 100 yards. I think another question, same question. Yeah, I'd go Khalil Herbert over Edmonds. Judy or Cobb? I saw this one earlier too. Again, I'm so excited for Jerry Jeudy to come back, but I still think you should probably go Randall Cobb there. Like, the guys that have been out for a while, I don't like starting them in their first game back. I'm excited for them to come back, but I'm nervous about them, especially if you have a decent option. Cobb or Cooks? Yeah, definitely Cooks. Definitely Cooks. Christian Kirk, Darnell Mooney, or Jerry Jeudy? Man, that one's much tougher. Christian Kirk versus Jerry Jeudy. I don't think I'd go Darnell Mooney. To me, it's Christian Kirk versus Jerry Jeudy. I think Christian Kirk versus Jerry Jeudy is a very, very good question. I would probably lean towards Christian Kirk. But again, I am very excited for Jerry Jeudy to come back. And this is probably going to be, and I'm hoping this is, honestly, this would mean he probably played well. I'm hoping that Jerry Jeudy, like, this is the last week I tell you to bench Jerry Jeudy for the rest of the season. That's honestly what I'm hoping for. I drafted him on a ton of my best ball teams, bunch of my season-long teams. Like, I'm rooting for Jerry Jeudy big time. but he's coming off a long absence. He really played one quarter. He's played one quarter this season. He put up like 13 points in that one quarter. It was like 1.5 quarters maybe. But yeah, I would play Randall Cobb over Jerry Jeudy. I would play Christian Kirk over Jerry Jeudy. I don't think I would play Randall Cobb. I mean, not Randall Cobb. I don't think I'd play Rondale Moore over Jerry Jeudy. That one, honestly, is close. Thursday night question. Guys, make sure if you're watching live on TikTok, hit that like button and that follow button if you haven't yet. Actually, there's not a like button. It's like the whole screen. You just tap the screen on TikTok. On YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button if you are watching live. I do really appreciate that. Helps me out a ton. It takes you like 2 seconds, and it actually does help me out a ton. Hey, Sam, I need some Thursday night help. Pick one. Deandre Hopkins, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin. Yes, it's CeeDee Lamb. This one's not that hard, honestly. And you could end up being wrong because all three of these guys have a really high ceiling. But CeeDee Lamb's floor-ceiling combination isn't really even close to the other two. CeeDee Lamb's in a whole nother tier. I would put CeeDee Lamb in a tier above DeAndre Hopkins and a tier above Terry McLaurin. CeeDee Lamb is going to ball out every single week. And this week especially against the Minnesota Vikings, massive, massive shootout potential for CeeDee Lamb. So yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb a lot this week. What's your pick for the spread? Yeah, I'm taking the Packers, plus 6.5. And I don't feel good about this game against the spread. And if you've been following me for a long time, I really don't bet against the spread, like ever. I share my picks against the spread every single week because I think they're fun to talk about because the spreads are set so well. Like they make for very good conversation, and they're very difficult. I'm actually 57%, I think, now against the spread this season, way better than I would have expected. Like I haven't really put any real money behind that. I wish I had, but I haven't. But yeah, I like the Packers plus 6.5 in this game. I think the Packers have a real chance to win. I think the Cardinals will win, but I think the Packers have a real chance to win. For whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have actually done better without Davante Adams over the last 2 years than with him. There's actually like a decent sample size. It's not a big sample size in terms of statistics, but in terms of the NFL, there's been 7 games over the last 2 years without Davante Adams. And guess what? The Packers are 7-0 in those games. Aaron Rodgers averaging over 310 yards per game in those games. He's averaging close to 260 with Davante. I don't really understand the logic or the reasoning behind those numbers. Like, it does not make sense intuitively. But it is a good sign for the Packers in this game. Like, Aaron Rodgers is good enough to create with very little around him. I mean, he's been doing it for quite some time. Even with Davante Adams, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is really making the most of a pretty abysmal situation in terms of receivers over the last 3-4 years. I give Aaron Rodgers a lot of heat. Like, I don't really like Aaron Rodgers and the drama that surrounds him. But you got to give Aaron Rodgers some credit for his on-the-field abilities and what he's done without very much support over the last 3 to 4 years. Yo, Poppy Samuel. Do I start Elijah Mitchell, Sutton, Shepard, Devontae Smith, or Robert Woods at flex? There's no Thursday night guys in this question, but I really think I'm going to be telling almost everyone to start Devontae Smith this week against the Lions. This feels like a Devontae Smith week. I'm not going to lie. All right, Gainwell, Jacoby Myers, Antonio Gibson at flex. Also, do you think James Conner or Edmonds is better for fantasy today? Yeah, I'm glad there was a Thursday night question here in here, Joel. We're live on TikTok and YouTube, by the way. This one's a YouTube question. I'm going to get to some of the TikTok questions in just a second. I do see a lot of those questions coming in. But I like all of these players. I think that I would lean towards Jacoby Myers for the ceiling or Gainwell for the floor, though. I would bench Antonio Gibson if you could. To the second part of this question, James Conner versus Chase Edmonds, I think this one's a really close one. But I would go with Chase Edmonds over James Conner. Chase Edmonds has much more receiving upside than James Conner. Like, James Conner is not going to catch as many passes as Chase Edmonds. And I actually think James Conner might have even had fewer carries last week. Let me pull these numbers up really quickly. I'll get back. I'm going to circle back to the James Conner, Chase Edmonds question. All right, let's get to some of the TikTok questions. Cobb thoughts. Yeah, I mean, Randall Cobb is startable. Randall Cobb is startable in really every league right now. Randall Cobb, there's no Marcus Valdes-Scantling. There is no Allen Lazard. There's no Davante Adams. Like, you can start Randall Cobb. And I think we have him projected in the WalterPicks app for a little over 10 points. It's probably somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 11 PPR fantasy points for Randall Cobb. I don't think that's awful. But, like, Randall Cobb's not that good, guys. I mean, he's really old. I think he's, 33? He hasn't played, I think, more than 60% of the snaps this whole season. And that's not to say that he's not going to play more than that tonight. He is going to play more than that tonight, but it's still a bad sign for how good he is. Like, he's not like he's competing with very good receivers. So he's not that good. I do think Rodgers, though, is going to have a good game still. Like, I still think he can have a good game. Yeah, Randall Cobb played 62% of the snaps last week, which was the most he's played all season. So, yeah, again, I think you could start him. I think he's a solid wide receiver 3 this week. And I actually think he's a relatively safe floor. Hey, Sam, what does Antonio Gibson's upside look like for the rest of the season? Yeah, I mean, he's just not – he doesn't have a big receiving role. It feels very unlikely he's going to gain that receiving role because he is, going up against an injury. So, like, why would they add a bigger workload for him if he's dealing with a shin injury? So it seems like he's going to keep getting around 15 carries a game, which makes him like a running back 2. He's a running back 2. I think that's what he is for the rest of the season. That means he's not in the top 12 running backs. He's more like number 12 through number 24, which isn't bad. Like, that's still valuable in fantasy. I think people are really down on him, but he does have touchdown upside. He's going to get the goal line carries. But the floor is also lower because he's not catching the ball. Lockett or Cobb? Oh, God, you got to go Cobb. You have to go Cobb over Tyler Lockett. Guys, Tyler Lockett, the panic button should be pressed immediately for Tyler Lockett. And this is such a dangerous thing to say with Tyler Lockett. Like, we all know, if you follow the NFL even remotely, like, Tyler Lockett, and you know that he could score 50 fantasy points in any given week at any given time. Like, that is what Tyler Lockett does. But, I mean, with Geno Smith at quarterback, again, I do think, I say this all the time, I think the best tiebreaker for start-sit decisions week to week at the wide receiver position is who is their quarterback. No wide receiver is fully quarterback proof. Just ask Allen Robinson. Tyler Lockett's playing with Geno Smith. He really has not been very involved since Geno Smith took over. I mean, the whole offense is running like less plays. They're pushing the ball way less downfield. And DK Metcalf is the better option for Geno Smith. So, yeah, I would go Randall Cobb for sure over Tyler Lockett. And again, I know that's a dangerous thing to say for a guy like Tyler Lockett. But Tyler Lockett has had under 8 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. So, yeah, if you want less than 8 fantasy points, try out Tyler Lockett, who got off to a super hot start this year. But he's been down since. CeeDee Lamb, Ridley, or Deontay Johnson, half PPR. Again, all the CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen questions this week. You got to start all those guys. I think that game has massive, massive shootout potential. Ertz or Goddard? I'd go Goddard over Ertz. Javonte Williams or Chase Edmonds? I think I would go Chase Edmonds. Zach Ertz or Gronk? There's so many Gronk questions. I don't want to start Gronk or Jerry Jeudy in their first game back. I don't feel great about that. I would start Randall Cobb over Jerry Jeudy. I would start Zach Ertz over Rob Gronkowski. A.J. Brown or Keenan Allen? Have you been watching A.J. Brown the last 2 weeks? If you've been watching A.J. Brown the last 2 weeks, then you know A.J. Brown is locked into your starting lineup for the entire rest of the season. Like, no matchup considerations, nothing. I don't care about the weather, anything. Start A.J. Brown. Thursday Night Football question, James Conner or Damien Harris? This one, again, is very close. I think that I don't think James Conner always has the best floor every single week. And I just pulled these up. Let me pull this up really quickly. And Damien Harris, I think, does have a slightly better floor than James Conner because Damien Harris is touching the ball more every single week. And I want to actually confirm this. Let me pull this up. The touches per week, James Conner, take a look at this. He is seeing in the last few games, he's had actually at least 10 carries each of the last 5 games. He had 10 carries last week. He only played 29% of the snaps, though, against the Texans. He only played 29% of the snaps. That was a season low, 29% of the snaps in a blowout game against the Houston Texans. And the Cardinals are 6.5-point favorites in this game. Like, they should win. Meanwhile, Chase Edmonds had a season high, 68% of the snaps. He had 15 carries last week. And he also had more targets, I think. 3 targets to none. Yeah. So James Conner is a complete zero in the passing game, as is Damien Harris. But I think I would probably go Damien Harris. Against the Chargers, guys, the Chargers have been, I think, worse in the NFL against running backs this season, or second worst. They're really, they can't stop the run. You got to like Damien Harris this week. So, yeah, I would go Damien Harris over James Conner for sure after doing some of this analysis in live time. Guys, we are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. We are like 30 minutes away from football on our television screens. I'm getting excited. I hope you can tell. We got basically 30 minutes left in this YouTube live, in this TikTok live. If you haven't already, hit the follow button and the subscribe button. Please hit that. It takes you 2 seconds. I really do appreciate that. Also, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, helps you with everything fantasy football related, DraftKings and FanDuel related, and player prop related. And it's also completely free to download and to try. So go try it out. I do appreciate that. That's like the number one way you could possibly help me. So I do thank everyone that's tried out the WalterPicks app so far. And to our premium WalterPicks subscribers, thank you so much. All right, Android app. I'm so glad someone asked this. I've been working all day on the Android app, and I cannot wait for it to come. And it's coming. It is the closest it's ever been. The Android app is the closest that it's ever been. It is, if I had to estimate, and if you are one of the Android people who have been asking about the Android app for quite some time, you know I say this every time I give you an estimate. The team of developers that we have at WalterPicks absolutely hates when I give timeline estimates, but I can't stop doing it because I'm going to give you my honest estimate, and I think it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. I think we're 2 to 3 weeks away from the Android app tops, like 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to be on Android. It's super exciting. I honestly cannot wait. I don't want to, I can't promise you anything, of course, but that is what it's looking like. Do you like Aaron Jones over 64.5 rushing yards or Aaron Jones anytime TD score? Yeah, Bailey, I like both of these. This rushing prop, by the way, has been moving a lot. On Prize Picks, it was 56.5 this morning when I looked, and I absolutely love that, Bailey. And I think Aaron Jones anytime score as well. I think last I saw that was at like minus 160. I like that too. Yeah, I think they're both good. All right, we got a Thursday night question from Luca, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, or TY at Flex. By the way, guys, if you're on the TikTok Live and you want to join the TikTok Live, like you want to come up on the screen and join, you can do that. We did that last night, and it was actually fun. There's going to be some rules when you join. Like, you have to get to the point very quickly. You need to have absolutely no background noise, and there's absolutely no room for swearing or really like anything that annoys the crowd or me or is just like inappropriate at all is just going to be completely immediately disconnected. Will Walter be run by AI? Yeah, the WalterPicks app is powered by Walter, which is an artificially intelligent algorithm that powers the whole app to give us the best projections for fantasy. All right, Thursday night question. Sorry, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, or TY at Flex. Yeah, I'm excited you asked this, Luca, because this is the one time probably all night I'm going to get to tell someone to start Rondale Moore. Like, start Rondale Moore in this situation. What do you have to lose to start Rondale Moore in this situation? His ceiling's higher than definitely higher than T.Y. Hilton. And I would argue it's higher than Corey Davis, though I would also argue Rondale Moore's floor is lower than both these guys. But I'm not scared of the Packers secondary. The Packers are without their top two players in the secondary. So I'm not that worried about them. Who's winning tonight? The Cardinals are probably going to win. I mean, they're 6.5-point favorites. They're the only 7-0 team left in the NFL. And I would be very surprised if they don't score more than 30 points. Like, I think they're going for 30 plus. I say this almost every single week. It's true almost every single week. We actually pulled this up. I actually think it's happened maybe 6 times. So the Cardinals destroyed the Texans, 31 points. They destroyed the Browns, 37 points. They had a close game against the 49ers where they only scored 17. They destroyed the Rams, 37 points. They destroyed the Jaguars, 31 points. And they destroyed the Vikings. Actually, it was a 1-point game, but their offense destroyed the Vikings, 34 points. They've gone over 30 points 6 times. So that was 5 times. I think I missed the first game. Let's see what the first game was. Oh, what do you know? 38 points against the Titans. The Cardinals have scored 30-plus points in 6 of their 7 games. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I haven't looked into the numbers close enough, but I would guess that the next closest in terms of number of games with at least 30 points on offense is probably like 3 or 4. The Cardinals have done it 6 times. So, yeah, I wouldn't be betting against the Cardinals offense, but I do like the Packers against the spread. Like, I think plus 6.5 is reasonable. But I think Aaron Rodgers can still do very well. We've seen him do well without Davante Adams in the past. I don't think he's better without Davante Adams, but he has averaged more yards per game over the last 7 games without Davante Adams, spanning back 2.5 years. So, like, I don't think you could just write off Rodgers. Though I do think this is a really good question in the YouTube chat. Aaron Rodgers or Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones has a really good matchup this week, guys. And Daniel Jones also, like, we don't exactly know what weapons he's going to have, but you could pretty much bank on it being better than what he's been dealing with so far. Daniel Jones up against the Chiefs, who are allowing the second most fantasy points per game to receivers. I mean, to passing attacks, receivers and quarterbacks. The defense is really bad. a much bigger overlooked part of the Chiefs team that's struggling, that really it's gotten no attention this past week. I feel like everyone's talking about the Chiefs offense. The Chiefs offense is struggling. The Chiefs offense, like maybe we got too far ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Maybe Mahomes isn't as good as we thought he was. Maybe the Chiefs really aren't Super Bowl contenders. But so many people are overlooking the fact that the Chiefs defense is a bottom 3 defense in the NFL, which is the exact reason why they aren't real Super Bowl contenders. Like, that is why. It's not Mahomes. The offense is going to be fine. And that's part of the reason the defense is just so screwed this season. Like, the Mahomes is not going to put up 3 points again this year. Mahomes is probably going to put up 30 points more often than he puts up under 10. Like, the Chiefs offense is going to be fine. I don't think anyone should be surprised when the Chiefs offense is totally fine. But the defense is definitely not fine. And Daniel Jones gets that defense this week. And Daniel Jones has quietly put together a much better season than anyone expected, definitely than I expected. And it looks like Sterling Shepard's going to play this week. Kadarius Toney has a chance to play this week. And so does Kenny Golladay. And if all 3 of those guys are playing, then for me, it's definitely Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers. But it just doesn't feel good. It definitely doesn't feel good. I think I would go Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers. Like, in this current moment, if I had both these guys, I have Aaron Rodgers, by the way. Let me pull up my top 10 QB rankings here, by the way. I have this to help me out because I do some research before these streams. And you'll see Daniel Jones is not in my top 10, and Aaron Rodgers is. He's at number 9. So, like, by these rankings that I did some research on this morning, these say Aaron Rodgers, but honestly, in the moment after just reading through all those stats about the Chiefs defense, and with all the injuries for Aaron Rodgers, again, I made these rankings this morning, I think I would probably go Daniel Jones ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I'd probably go Joe Burrow ahead of Aaron Rodgers too. All the quarterbacks that I would start over Aaron Rodgers are basically on the screen right now, plus Daniel Jones. I would start Josh Allen over him, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow, and Daniel Jones. Those are the 9 quarterbacks or 10 quarterbacks I would start over Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers at 11. He can still do fine. Top 10 running back rankings. Yeah, let me pull these up as well for this week. And again, guys, if you are in the TikTok live and you want to see if I can find these. Let's go up in time or down in time. Looks like up. If you want to join the TikTok live on screen, you can do this. You can call into the live stream, and I will bring you up for your question. There are some rules though. You have to be extremely appropriate. Any inappropriate language or really anything inappropriate at all definitely will not be good. You'll be off the live immediately. But other than that, as long as the background sound is good, you can come up momentarily, ask a question. Teddy B over Rodgers? No, I wouldn't play Teddy B over Rodgers. We need Cobb updates. What are the Cobb updates? There's really no updates. Randall Cobb is the number 1 receiver for the Packers tonight. He's the number 1 receiver for the Packers tonight. Kevin King out again tonight. We already had Jair Alexander on IR. I mean, Cardinals are going to put up over 30 points again tonight. You can book that one. If there's anything I'm confident about, it's the Cardinals offense tonight. The tough thing about the Cardinals offense, though, is they are spreading the ball a lot, which is why they're so good. It's very hard to defend teams. This is true in every sport, by the way, but particularly football. It's very hard to defend teams that could go they could go to any player at any time. Like, the Cardinals are really good at spreading the ball around, finding the open player, and playing to their player strengths. AJ Green, Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, Deandre Hopkins, any 4 of those guys could have a big week any given week. And part of the reason is Kyla Murray and how well he's playing. But yeah, you got to be feeling very good about the Cardinals offense. All right, my main man Sam. We got a lot of nicknames for Sam recently. We got someone's calling me Papa Sam, Poppy Sam, my main man Sam. There's a lot of nicknames now. All right, Carter or Randall Cobb at flex. Yeah, it's Randall Cobb. It's got to be Randall. And Michael Carter has done better than Randall Cobb of late. Michael Carter's actually starting to see an increased role, but it's also for the Jets. Like, and I told a bunch of people, by the way, we did this on Sunday Live. If some of you are listening right now, which I'm sure you are, and we'll be back live this Sunday as usual. Weird lighting right now on the TikTok live. I can fix that a little. We'll be back live as usual Sunday morning, basically from when I wake up to the kickoff, and we'll be talking start-sit decisions. So I'll talk through basically every single game, give away some player props. We'll talk about everything. So make sure you're tuning into those Sunday lives, and to make sure you're tuned in, go to the YouTube live stream and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. The YouTube notification people, those are always the first people at the live stream every single week, man. So I appreciate them a lot. But yeah, we talked about it on live. I told everyone to bench Michael Carter. Michael Carter goes out there and has a bad game. I looked at the score at the end of the day. I watched every play, and I saw that he had 11 carries in the game. And then I looked at his receiving work, and I didn't realize watching the game, he had 9 targets in this game. I went back and watched the game again. I go back and rewatch every single game, almost every week, at least once. And Michael Carter was getting an insane role in the receiving game. 8 catches. He totaled over 100 yards. So, I mean, he played 74%. He really didn't come off the field. He played his highest snap percentage. He saw his second most carries of the season. He ran by far the most routes he's ever ran. He had by far the most catches he's ever had. And he had by far the most fantasy points he's ever had. He just had the best game of the season. So I don't know, my YouTube live people, I think you're onto something with Michael Carter. And I think just the YouTube live and the TikTok live, I think my followers are starting to just make very good start-sit decisions. Michael Carter was a solid start last week. I don't feel great about him, though, heading into this week. I don't feel great about him because he's on the Jets. His ceiling, still, that was the best game he ever played. He scored 16 points. 16 points. That Michael Carter's ceiling is 16 points. Really, if you add a touchdown to it, you could argue his ceiling is 20 points. But, I mean, we're not going to see a monster Michael Carter game because the Jets don't score that many points. So, yeah, I'm not feeling that good about him. So I would go Randall Cobb. Philip. And again, I'm interested in the comments. What do you guys think in the comments? Would you go Michael Carter or would you go Randall Cobb? I'm actually very interested to see if you all agree with me. Personally, I'm going Randall Cobb over Michael Carter. I'm going Aaron Rodgers over the Jets. But, I mean, are you guys feel? Yeah, everyone's saying Cobb. Everyone's saying Cobb. People are with me in the TikTok chat. I don't know about the YouTube live, but the TikTok live is with me. I love to see that. I'm glad we are in agreement on Randall Cobb. Yeah, I'm seeing some Cobb in the YouTube live now too. I got a good question here about Quadzilla, A.J. Dillon himself, my personal favorite player in the NFL, out of BC, one of the best pure runners in the league. And he's actually improved his receiving game this season too. And Joe Mixon is starting to get back to full health too. So I'd probably go A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon is a very sneaky play in this game, by the way. And I'm not just saying this. I know in past weeks I haven't thought A.J. Dillon was a very real fantasy football play. And so I gave everyone the big grain of salt that I'm a big fan of A.J. Dillon. I'm a big fan of A.J. Dillon. If you guys haven't seen what A.J. Dillon did for our Packers.WalterPicks creator, you got to go check out his account, Packers.WalterPicks on TikTok, because he's had some interaction with A.J. Dillon himself. A.J. Dillon is the man. But he also isn't a very good fantasy play in most weeks because Aaron Jones is so good. A.J. Dillon seeing, close to 10 carries a game on his best days. But tonight, you got to feel a little bit better about A.J. Dillon. You really do. You just look at the weapons that the Packers have. And no Davante Adams, no Marquez Valdes-Scantling, no Allen Lazard. It's going to be Randall Cobb leading the way for the Packers receivers. In reality, it's going to be Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones' involvement more as a receiver, I don't think is necessarily bad news for A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon actually had a season low 19% snap share last week. But coming off a short week, they're coming off a short week where Aaron Jones just played a season high 80% of the snaps. There's no receivers in this game for the Packers. A.J. Dillon almost has to be involved. He only had 3 carries last week. He only ran 5 routes, and he fumbled too, I think. I'm pretty sure he had a bad fumble in that game. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about A.J. Dillon in this game. I think this is one of the most confident you can be in A.J. Dillon probably this whole season. He does have 2 games over 10 points. So yeah, I don't mind A.J. Dillon at all. Hey, Sam, should I trade Devontae Smith and Pitts for Hunter Henry and Fournette? No, definitely not, Hudson. Pitts is by far the best player in that trade. So I didn't see was there more players in that trade? Oh, you have Herbert, Dalvin, and Miles Sanders. Yeah, I don't think the players you have really matters all that much here. Devontae Smith, by the way, also I think is a pretty good buy low candidate. If I pull up my league-winning guys that you should be buying, Devontae Smith has been dominating air yards this entire season. I know I'm a little on the air yards drug. I'm very into air yards as the number one metric to look at for wide receivers. It's the best measure of volume. And what air yards measures is the distance the ball travels in the air, in total, in the game, towards a receiver. So it's a much better measure of volume than targets. Targets doesn't give any context of where those targets are coming. For example, Rondale Moore, his air yards per game is under 10. He's getting targets in games, but right at the line of scrimmage. Meanwhile, a guy like Devontae Smith is seeing several deep targets per game in every game that he's playing. And he just hasn't had that massive blow-up week yet. And it could come this week against the Lions. I mean, the Lions are definitely not a defense to be super scared of. He's had 19 points twice this season. Once was against the Falcons. Once was against the Chiefs. He's got over 10 points 4 out of his 7 games. And you look at some of the peripheral numbers, and they are good for him. He's the 12th most air yards in the NFL, the 9th best air yard share. And Jalen Hurts really hasn't given him that much help. I do hope we see Devontae Smith with like a really, really good quarterback at some point in his career. But yeah, I don't like this trade at all. Do I pick up Cobb over Henderson for flex? No, definitely not. I mean, we like Randall Cobb, but we don't like him more than Darrell Henderson. Do we go Randall Cobb over Michael Pittman? Yeah, guys, Cobb could be available in a lot of your leagues. I don't think you should start him over Michael Pittman either, though. Pittman's been very, very good. But Cobb can be started in a lot of leagues. Like, he can be strongly considered in a lot of leagues this week. No Devontae Adams, no Allen Lazard in this game, no Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He is the only guy remaining. Pull up the Packers depth chart really quickly. I want to see all of their receivers tonight because, I mean, we're probably going to see some guys we really have not been accustomed to seeing. So Lazard out, Adams out, and it sounds like Marquez Valdes-Scantling out. So we're going to see Randall Cobb, Equanimeous. Oh, man, I should have practiced for this one. Equanimeous? I'm not going to say it right. St. Brown, who we have seen before in the past. Jawan Winfrey and Malik Taylor. Those are the only 4 receivers on the Packers roster tonight. And Amari Rodgers. Randall Cobb, Amari Rodgers, Malik Taylor. I hope we have a big Amari Rodgers night because I have had Amari Rodgers on my best ball teams all season, and he's been doing absolutely nothing. That would be exciting. But he does play in the slot, which is not good news for him because of Randall Cobb. So, yeah, we're going to see a lot of nobodies for the Packers at the receiving position tonight. So, yeah, you do like Randall Cobb, but you definitely do not. You definitely should not be starting over Michael Pittman. All right, Sam, the 10 transactions doesn't talk about Allen Robinson. And I thanks for shouting out the 10 transactions, Noah, because I've been personally writing these 10 transactions. Actually, we have 2 people helping us this season write a few of them. So we got a couple of our rookie content creators helping with the 10 transactions. I personally write a lot of these, so you can find them completely free in the WalterPicks app every single week. It is 1,000% free. The app is free to download. And when you go to the 10 transactions every single week, that will never be behind a paywall. And we talked about so many good ones, Noah, this season. We told you to buy A.J. Brown at the absolute perfect time. We told you to buy and add Khalil Herbert at the perfect time. We were ahead of Kenny Gainwell. We've been on top of Chuba Hubbard. We were on basically every single waiver wire ad 2 weeks in advance if you should go for free in the 10 transactions tool in the WalterPicks app. And we have not talked about Allen Robinson because, man, I just hate thinking about how bad Allen Robinson has been. And honestly, Noah, like if you can trade Allen Robinson for anything, you probably should, but you probably can't. So I think he's a hold. You can't drop Allen Robinson. So you almost just have to hold him. And that's not a good situation in fantasy because the players in those situations end up just being on your bench the whole season. And you never even have any confidence to start him. But Allen Robinson, at least, like he's good. So that's a lot more than you can say about probably everyone on the waiver wire. So yeah, I think he's closer to a drop though than like a hold. That's how bad he's been. I mean, really, the Bears just refuse to throw the ball. They refuse to have any semblance of volume in the passing game. And like Khalil Herbert's been doing well, but I mean, it's just they're not putting the ball in their best players' hands. Allen Robinson under 11 fantasy points every single game this season. So like, who's going to take him? You know, I do think you should hold him, but I think he's getting closer and closer to drop every single week. And you can make an argument that Darnell Mooney is a better play than Allen Robinson. Like they're really not that much different. And Darnell Mooney's actually running more targets down the field. Papa Sam, Cade, Tunyon or Hawkinson? Yeah, it's got to be Hawkinson. Tunyon seems like a good play. I think Tunyon's a complete trap though. Like I think there's touchdown upside there for Tunyon, but that's there for Hawkinson too. It's not like the Eagles have been a very good defense either. Like, it would be the most Philadelphia Eagles thing ever for the Lions to beat them this week. But Tonyan is a trap as well. Not like he should be number 2, number 3 receiver for Aaron Rodgers with Devontae Adams, Scantling out, and Lazard out. But the Cardinals have allowed the fewest points per game to tight ends this entire season. Let me pull this up really quickly. They really have dominated tight ends. No defense has been better against tight ends this whole season. Anthony Ferkser in week 1, 19 yards. Tyler Conklin in week 2, 15 yards. Jacob Hollister in week 3, 15 yards. Tyler Higbee in week 4, 36 yards. Ross Dwelly in week 5, 25 yards. And then it was Njoku 2 weeks ago, and Hooper, 6 yards. Pharaoh Brown last week for the Texans, 15 yards. I mean, they haven't played very good tight ends. Pharaoh Brown, David Njoku, Ross Dwelly, Jacob Hollister, Tyler Conklin, Anthony. None of those guys are that good. They did do pretty well against Tyler Higbee, who turned 6 targets into 36 yards, no touchdowns. They haven't allowed a single touchdown this season to a tight end. So he is a better play because of all these injuries, but he's definitely still a risky play. OZG, thanks for the likes in the TikTok live and the gifts in the TikTok live. I do appreciate that. Try to get to your question if I can. Good way to get me to answer your TikTok live question. Mo Alley Cox or Jonnu Smith. Mo Alley Cox, they got to unleash Mo Alley Cox, man. I would go Jonnu Smith if he plays. Put the wide receivers up. Yeah, my bad, Trent. I haven't changed those in a while. I don't know if I put the wide receivers up at all this whole live. Thanks for calling that out. We are live on TikTok and YouTube right now. We are wrapping up soon. Papa Sam. Why are people calling me Papa Sam? Is this like a thing? Can someone explain? Because I don't hate it. Does Ernest Johnson still have value this week? Yeah, he does. Ernest Johnson, another guy we absolutely screamed at you to add in the WalterPicks app, in the 10 transactions tool. You got to be reading that every week. It's completely free. It's completely free. Why are you not accessing this completely free knowledge that's winning leagues? We are definitely going to have value for Ernest Johnson this week. And honestly, for as long as Kareem Hunt is out, the Browns for a very long time now have made it very clear they don't want Nick Chubb to be getting 30-plus touches a game like Derrick Henry gets. They want to preserve Nick Chubb. It's actually a very good strategy. It's been working for the Browns. Nick Chubb has been the most efficient running back over the last 2 years in the NFL. And part of that, I think you can attribute, and part of the health too for Nick Chubb over the last year and a half, I know he's coming off an injury, is to the workload, especially coming off the injury. It's even more reason for Nick Chubb to get a not massive workload. He's number 3 in true yards per carry this season. He's averaging 5.8 yards per carry. And last season, he led the league in that metric. So, I mean, yeah, and you got to feel good about Ernest Johnson too. The Browns are just so built to run. He's basically going to get the Kareem Hunt role. He's probably like 85% of what we could have hoped from Kareem Hunt. Because again, volume is the most important thing in fantasy football. So if he's going to get the same volume as Hunt, he's really not that much worse than in fantasy. Big man Sam. Deebo Samuel or Mike Williams rest of season. Alex, appreciate the question. Thank you for joining the YouTube live. Thank you all, seriously, for joining the Thursday night live. I do appreciate it. I'm live every Thursday night, Sunday night in. I just actually added a Wednesday night live stream. It's a little bit shorter, but it is all about trades in fantasy football. Sunday morning live, obviously all about Sunday football. Let me pull up the running backs really quick. Saw that question in the YouTube live. All right, Deebo Samuel or Mike Williams rest of season. Oh, man, we got it. This is a good one. This is a good one to end on, or at least close to end on. This last question, Deebo Samuel versus Mike Williams, like they both have been really good. I would probably go Deebo Samuel. The thing that makes me want to go Mike Williams, and by the way, like if we're just saying which one's the better receiver, we're not talking about fantasy football. You almost have you have to say Deebo Samuel. I don't think I could take you that seriously. But Deebo Samuel also, he's getting passes from either Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, and we have Mike Williams on the other hand, who's playing alongside Justin Herbert. Like you got to feel better about Mike Williams for that reason, and for that reason, like maybe you could argue he's a little safer. But Deebo Samuel is really like he's been so consistent, and he's just so obviously the best weapon in the passing game for the 49ers. Listen to these fantasy performances from Deebo Samuel: 32 points, 16 points, 10 points, 35 points, 16 points, 21 points. He's finished as a top 12 wide receiver Sorry, he's finished as a top 7 wide receiver 3 times this season, top 25 receiver 5 out of his 7 games. I mean, that is such a good floor. 5 out of his 6 games. I'm sorry, he didn't play week 6. He's seen the 7th most targets in the league. He's having 10 targets a game. Williams is also having a good season. Don't get me wrong. But he's seeing a little less targets per game and a little bit just more volatile, in my opinion. He's just more of a deep threat. He also played only 38% of the snaps last week. It was a big blowout game. I think he dealt with a small injury, maybe. But yeah, I would go Deebo Samuel. I think this is the bottom line. All right. To wrap up my thoughts on this game, I believe the Cardinals should win the game. I think that they will win the game. I think that the Cardinals offense puts up minimum 30 points. Minimum 30 points. This is what I say every single week. 30 plus for the Cardinals offense. They've done it 6 times now. I've been right 6 times. I've been wrong once about the Arizona Cardinals offense. You got to have faith in the entire offense to put up 30 plus. That's why I think they're going to win the game. But I do think the Packers offense is going to be able to keep up. I think it's going to be a committee approach between A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Randall Cobb. Robert Tonyan's going to have to be involved even against a good tight end defense, but I still don't think he's going to have as big of an impact as some of these other guys. I really hope we see Amari Rodgers, their rookie, do something tonight as well. So I think that the Packers probably going to score 24 to 30 points. The Cardinals go over 30. That is my prediction. I do like Aaron Jones to have a big game tonight. I do think that the Packers can keep in it. And I do want to leave this last thought with all of you. Thank you again for tuning into the live. I do appreciate it so much. I think time is the most valuable thing we have. So I appreciate you spending some time with me this Thursday night. The last thought I want to leave you with, and I'll be thinking about this throughout the whole game, Aaron Rodgers, in his last 7 games without Davante Adams, dating back to 2019, 7 games, not a bad sample size over the last 2.5 years, is 7-0 without Davante Adams. He's averaging over 310 yards per game without Davante Adams. He's averaging close to 3 passing touchdowns per game without Davante Adams. We'll see if this trend continues, but definitely an interesting one to monitor as we watch the game tonight. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back live Sunday morning. Have a good night.